Hello, hello, and welcome to this episode of the Nerds of the North podcast, episode number 39, if memory serves.
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, we're coming in hot today. We're just, as we were just saying, letting Jesus take the wheel today.
38, episode 38.
Episode 38? I thought last week was 38. Whatever. This is an episode of the podcast. Welcome, Nerds of the North. I'm host number one, as always, Matt. And joining me today, as always, is host number two,
Nick.
And today we're going to be talking about the same fucking shows we've been talking about for like the last month, because that's the coolest shit that's on TV right now, which is Book of Boba Fett slash Mandalorian, quite frankly, and then Peacemaker. So Book of Boba Fett had its season finale that a lot of people have had some strong opinions on. Like my strong opinions are more of just disappointed opinions. And then Peacemaker, which I think has had a really fantastic run of episodes and has just been progressively getting better and better every episode, in my opinion. As if I'm already showing my hand in terms of how I feel about these shows. But that being said, we might have some light video game discussion, possibly, depending on how long we go for. So Nick, tell me, how did you feel about Book of Boba Fett? We can kind of talk about the show broadly, and then also spoilers moving forward for the finale. If you haven't seen it, what the fuck are you doing here? So,
yeah, overall, I did like the show, but I also had an overall low opinion of the finale, or just a little bit disappointed with how it turned out.
mm-hmm.
I can't quite place what went on with this show. I kind of feel like they had an idea of what they wanted to do with the Mandalorian, like season 3, but they didn't. I don't actually know. It seems like they were using material here that was for the Mandalorian and kind of stretched out over 7 episodes.
Sure.
That's what it kind of felt like for me. And I wonder if maybe the show's biggest fault was that its name was the Book of Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there's something that I keep seeing a lot of talk about, and it's a lot of like why Boba Fett isn't more of like a ruthless character. Why isn't like Boba Fett this badass who's just kicking down doors and taking names and everything? I'm like, if you've only seen the films, all of the major Star Wars movies, I don't know where anyone would get the notion that Boba Fett is any more than just a relatively silent bounty hunter, because he has a lot more to him as a character in the extended Star Wars universe, canon or not. But in terms of the movies, he's barely around. He barely has any action at all. Like, you would never get a notion of what this character is about if you had just seen the movies. And so I feel like there's a lot of opinions flying about, like, well, why isn't he like this? And I'm like, well, where are you basing your opinions from? If you've seen extended Star Wars universe stuff, like I haven't, then maybe I could understand your ire a little bit more. But like, I know you, Nick, you've seen more of Boba Fett in some of the extended Star Wars stuff, right? But like, is he even featured that prominently in any of that either that you've seen anyway?
So I've never really read too much of the expanded universe, though I know that's very popular with a lot of fans of Star Wars, and I do think that sort of built up his character a lot in the minds of fandom, that he was sort of this faceless badass who goes around the universe, like kills, kicks ass, takes names, does badass things. But this was even before, you have to remember, the prequels came out, that people were building up their idea of what Boba Fett was.
It's a long time coming.
And also, I mean, the movie, specifically Empire Strikes Back, does sort of build him up as being sort of at least respected by Darth Vader, which I think in a lot of people's minds made people think that he was a badass. I mean, and I think he is a badass. He's sort of like he's sort of an archetypal bounty hunter, Western villain, so I get why people are a little confused by what they saw. And to me, it's hard for me to reconcile in my brain the two characters between like the original trilogy and what we see in this show, because let's just be honest, he has a way different body type than he did in the original trilogy. Also, I believe he's quite a bit shorter, so it's harder for me to really
connect
them in my head. But Boba was also featured quite a bit in the Clone Wars as a child, obviously.
Sure.
And that's where that Cad Bane relationship that was referenced so much in the finale came from. So, but yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but
no, yeah, I mean, like, honestly, I think it does. Like, I just think that there's this notion of what this character is that got built up. It's the expectation of something that has never really come to fruition. And so the Star Wars community, or at least fans of Boba Fett, without having much to go on, built up the notion of what they thought Boba Fett maybe was. And then the representation that was presented to them on screen wasn't what they were after. And so...
But if you think about this character that, you're right, barely showed up in the movies at all. Like, he was barely in it. He had so few lines. But look at what's come from that character. There's this whole mythology around Mandalore and that culture. Like, just from this armor people thought looked cool and badass.
Right.
They built that up in the EU, and then that got carried over to the actual universe, the canonical universe.
Sure.
And then Lucas connected it, because he was so popular, he connected him to the stormtroopers. And so now all those stormtroopers are all connected to Boba. So, I mean, just that one cool armor has sort of taken over a lot of the mythology of Star Wars.
Well, and I definitely don't disagree that he's a really cool character, and I do love how they like wrapped him up a lot into the the mythos that is Star Wars in different parts. Yeah, like with the clone troopers all being essentially clones of not Boba but Jango Fett.
I mean, even like the show The Mandalorian itself. I mean, that the popularity of that show connected to the popularity of Boba's armor from the original trilogy. So,
and so I mean, like, I don't want to discredit people's disappointment in how the show's been, but I do think that people's expectations were so high for it that I think that no matter what was presented, it was going to fail. It was going to not meet those expectations. So that's kind of more of what is driving at. But like, people spent years and years and years building up what he was going to be like in a show focused on him, and what they were presented was a much different version of what they had portrayed in their mind.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of those attributes that they attributed to his character have carried over to Din Djarin. So,
yeah, honestly, I mean,
you still get Boba Fett's character, just not in Boba Fett himself.
Well, and it's such a... This is something, I mean, this is kind of... I'm jumping around a little bit here, but like, there was something that I was speaking about with my wife in particular with one of my issues with this finale and just with the show in general. So it's revealed in this finale episode that that Boba Fett's Tusken tribe that he hung out with was not killed by this like speeder bike gang, but was killed by the Pikes. And we had reasons to maybe believe that was the case, but like hadn't actually heard any hard proof of that necessarily. And then it's told to, this information is given to Cad Bane, and then Cad Bane uses that as a means of riling up Boba in the moment when they're about to have a face-off. He uses it 2 different times in the episode to like rile up Boba Fett. And I'm really confused as to why this was a piece of information that the Pikes were hiding in the first place. Because like for Cad Bane to use the information, like that makes sense for him to drop that information to upset Boba Fett, to take his focus away from the battle and for his emotions to get the better of him, right? Like that makes sense for Cad Bane to be doing. For the Pikes, though, they were like, we wanted to avoid, invoking the wrath of Boba Fett. Well, they already fucking did that later by just like fucking with Boba in other means and like not really hiding the fact that it was them. So we hid the information that we killed his Tusken friends from him to avoid his rage. But then we invoked his rage later anyway, basically on purpose. Anyway, so like I just don't really understand the cloak and dagger that seemingly was being used here. It just doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah, I just watching this thing the first time, I kind of had sort of a same reaction to you. A lot of the stuff that goes down in this episode, it seems like a plot contrivance to get characters to where they want them to be. Like the whole thing where Boba would stay, they would have their last stand in that blown out bar or whatever. I thought was kind of stupid. And then how Fennec Shan had to leave to go take out the mayor and the Pike leader. I don't know, it seemed kind of dumb to me. And the whole thing where like they had people stationed around town, it just didn't seem logical to me for some reason. Like when they were getting like Kursant Stan in that area of town and like all the kind of speeder bike kids or whatever, the Vespa children.
Like, they were already so wildly outnumbered. Like it doesn't matter if you're spread out around the town, you're gonna get fucked anyway. So like
bringing the Rancor just seemed like someone thought, it'd be really cool if Boba rode a Rancor, but logically it would have made more sense for him just to get Slave One. And
that's actually a really good point. I didn't think about that at all. He has a fucking spaceship that is wildly maneuverable.
Well, I mean, you got to think like, why doesn't everyone have spaceships? I mean, the Pikes probably have spaceships too, right? I don't know. You think someone would be able to shoot from the sky, but it is what it is.
Sorry, your audio cut out for me there for a second.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah.
I was just saying that it's interesting that no one in the show seems to have a spaceship to use during that final battle.
Yeah, except for the one guy who like really clearly does. He spent an entire fucking episode recruiting and retrieving this ship.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I guess we should maybe mention that. He went really fucking out of his way to get that ship back. And then like has not used it almost at all. He used it once to kill the speeder bike gang, and that was all he did with it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that he used it to go find the Mandalorian in the Mandalorian season 2, technically, but for the most part,
I guess that's true. Yeah, in the course of the show, he didn't, but in the whole run of Mandalorian and Boba Fett, yeah, he did definitely use it for that purpose.
I mean, honestly, Fennec should have just taken the freaking Slave One and drop one of those sonic bombs onto she knew where they were.
Right, she knew where they were. Like, I think it was just, this is a whole episode, this finale was like, it was palatable and it was fine to watch, but it did everything that I was really hoping it wouldn't do, which was just kind of rush through all the plot points that have been brought up just so they can get to the end. Out of all of the like Star Wars Disney Plus shows that we've seen or that we have at our disposal, which is Mandalorian season 1 and 2, and then just Book of Boba Fett, this one definitely feels like the weakest in that like seasons 1 and 2 of Mandalorian felt very, they felt paced really well, and the storyline made some level of sense. But Book of Boba Fett, like they introduced this whole Tusken narrative at the beginning, which was very interesting. And I thought they did a good job of like fleshing out that culture and introducing it to us in a different light. All of that was just for a creative way for Boba to kill Cad Bane later. Like all that built up to was him using the weapon that was given to him by the Tuskens. Outside of that, it had like no significance whatsoever. He didn't try and recruit the Tuskens to like help with the battle. He didn't do any of that. Like he just was like, well, they're all dead. It's like, well, not every Tusken Raider's dead. No, they're all dead.
Yeah, I felt it was sort of anticlimactic with Cad Bane too. I was sort of expecting something a little more from that showdown.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really cool they brought him on, and I thought it was cool. I think the fight itself was fine.
They
Because
probably gave Cad Bane and Boba the best lines in the episode during those fights, but still, it just seemed a little anticlimactic to me.
Because to be fair, like Cad Bane is probably quite old at this point. Yeah, like
yeah, he's in his 70s,
and so he's an older bounty hunter. He's still a badass, but like he is an older dude. So it does make sense for him to like see his end at this juncture. Like at the hands of another skilled bounty hunter, like at least that has some like honor and dignity to it. But that's kind of the way I looked at it.
Yeah, I mean, it is before this show happens and before the Bad Batch happens, there had been an unproduced, it was produced, but it wasn't fully completed episode of the Clone Wars.
Okay.
Where Boba as a child had a standoff with Cad Bane. Sure. And from that standoff, it had appeared Cad Bane had died and got shot in the head by Boba, I believe it was.
Interesting. Okay.
And so when they brought him back for the Bad Batch, it was kind of a surprise because though that show isn't technically, that episode wasn't completely canon just because it wasn't completely produced.
Sure.
But he was there and he actually had a metal plate on his head where Boba had shot him. So somehow he had lived through that and now had a metal plate on his head. And so if you watch the episode when his hat falls off, he still has that metal plate on his head where Boba had shot him from that episode.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. What'd you think of the Rancor fight?
I think the Rancor fight was cool. There was a particular Reddit post maybe you saw talking about like an issue in the some of the like framing that happened, like, which I just love those little movie and show detail stuff. Like in the one scene where the Rancor tears off one of the arms or like one of the blaster arms of one of the droids, in the next frame, like that same weapon is now reattached and seemingly unchanged.
Oh, really?
In the following frame. Yeah, like it's like bent over, it's ripped off, and then the next frame like shows it like trying to stand up and it has both of them attached still. Probably just like a minor thing that doesn't ultimately matter because they both get blown to shit anyway. But
yeah. Also too, I kind of felt like that whole scene was with the droidicas, the giant droidicas from like the prequels. It just seemed kind of weird because they weren't hitting anything when they were firing. And the whole time you just like see everyone fleeing and like, why are these people not further away at this point? These things aren't moving very fast.
Little known fact, both those droids were programmed by stormtroopers. That's why they can't hit anything.
I admittedly was worried about my boy Chrysanthemum, that he was going to get killed, and I'm glad he made it. They even had like a weird callback to the end of episode 1, or sorry, A New Hope, the first Star Wars, at the end of it, where they threw Chrysanthemum a melon.
Oh, but, really?
You know, at the end of those movies, he didn't get a medal like everyone else did. Chewbacca.
No, yeah.
So apparently, a medal and a melon are close enough to make her.
Is that what the joke was? That's yes. Absurd if that's the case.
What did you think of Grogu coming back so soon?
I mean, I was mostly fine with that. Like, I've heard some complaints about the how stupid and arbitrary it is that like Luke made Grogu choose between Din and becoming a Jedi. It's like you have to make a choice. You have to give up all feelings and become a Jedi, or go be with the person who's cared the most about you in your entire fucking life and who went out of their way to come here to say hi and left without saying hi because it was the best thing for you. Choose. And it's like, of course he's got to choose Din. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, he's a baby. Like, and so I get like why some people are mad about that, but like that's the whole point of the Jedi Order, right? Is like And ultimately, I think that's why like Luke's school isn't successful either. In the long run.
I just get this funny image of like a human baby and Luke is presenting him with like like just treating
chainmail shirt and a lightsaber.
Yeah, just treating like this little baby as his like apprentice.
Like, I mean, honestly, like it might as well be, you know, like replace Grogu with like an actual human baby, approximately the same age, like intelligence wise. Like Grogu is clearly not like, you know, is clearly an infant, but like by its alien standards, it's like what 50 years old or something like that. But it's fucking like it just is dumb. It just seems really dumb to me. But
yeah.
So I don't know.
Listen here, like, baby. You gotta choose between me.
But I think it does make sense for Grogu to have not stayed with Luke because I think things would be very different. Grogu's like influence, appearance, training, whatever in Star Wars, like the films, would have been felt for sure, like in the same way that Yoda's was, yeah. So for us to not have a single thing heard or said about a grand Jedi named Grogu in the sequel trilogy, just that by itself should have been like enough for people to think, oh, okay, he's gonna go with Mando then. But yeah, like the choice does seem really arbitrary. It's like, you barely know me, and I'm promising you a life of no love or affection for the rest of your life. Your long ass Yoda ass life, by the way. Like Luke is like, you have to go your whole life without love and affection. Meanwhile, he had a totally different upbringing up to that point, where he had love and affection through his aunt and uncle, and then like lost people he cared about, and it hurt tremendously, but he's denying that life to an infant. Like it just, the Jedi Order is dumb, I think, is maybe what it comes down to.
Yeah, I heard some people mention too that it wasn't, it seems that maybe Luke's new Jedi Order, they were hoping that he would have changed a little bit his perspective on the Jedi teachings, so that it wasn't about detachment as much.
Right.
But
clearly not. I mean, at least not at this juncture.
Yeah. But overall, like I think I'd give the episode maybe like a 7 out of 10, maybe 6.5 out of 10. It wasn't bad. It was just sort of, I felt like a kid with some action figures, hitting the action figures together without any real stakes. Though I was kind of bummed when the Gamorrean hog people got thrown off the cliff, but
yeah, actually that hit me harder than almost anything else in the episode.
I was like, I had a box of tissue next to me and I was just weeping for the rest of the episode. When that
is that what you did with your tissues? I did something very different.
Hopefully not because of the pig's death. Excuse me, honey.
Bacon. Yeah, I agree with that score, honestly. Like I think, like I said, it's a palatable enough episode and it's fun to watch. But if you spend any longer than 2 seconds thinking about most scenes and like why characters are there, it just doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense. It kind of makes me wonder like what it was happening in the background of this show, if there was stuff that was cut for time, or narratives and characters that we didn't see or anything. Like maybe that would explain why like what's her fate, like Ahsoka was with Luke, you know. Maybe there's some narrative that like made that make more sense, because it just kind of seemingly was really random. She happened to be there.
Yeah, I always felt like we were one scene away from things making 100% sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was always sort of waiting for that scene where I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. I understand why everything's happening, and I'm emotionally involved with this. But as it stood, I never really understood why Boba really cared about Mos Eisley, or I
think they are in Mos Espa.
Yeah,
Mos Eisley is the big spaceport where the woman mechanic operates.
Yeah, I can't even. Anyway, but yeah, I just kind of I lost my train of thought now. So yeah, it was. I mean, overall, I like the show more than this episode, especially those episode 5 and 6 were pretty amazing. Even though I kind of felt like this episode lowered episode 6 a little bit for me because I didn't really want Grogu to go back to Din so fast. I think, but
Yeah, I think they kind of rushed through that. You could have had like a solid 2-episode arc in Mandalorian season 3, where like either Mando goes to retrieve Grogu, or where Luke, or I guess a R2D2 returns Grogu to Mando. You know, yeah, it just seems really, this seemed really weird in some spots. But yeah, I think a 6.5 out of 10 is a fair rating.
for the show overall, I'd probably give it a 7.5 out of 10. But
I'd probably round it out to like a good 7. I think 7 out of 10 works for me. But yeah, I would agree. I think it pales in comparison to any season of Mandalorian, and the best episodes of the whole show were because of Mando being the primary focus. So
yeah, I would agree with that. Also, Tamara Morrison, I still don't really know if he was. I still don't know if he's like charismatic enough to carry the Boba role, but it could have just been the writing and the directing as well. Who knows?
I think like his acting was fine. I think it was just the direction they took him. It did. I mean, it did really feel like he just really had no aspirations of his own other than like, I guess, ruling. But like, I don't even know where his notion of ruling came from, I guess.
Right. He was less of a crime boss and more of a sheriff in this episode.
Yeah. Which, speaking of which, I am glad that they kind of show evidence that Sheriff Cobb was not dead. It was in fact being healed in Boba's back to tank. Which then makes me wonder why. I mean, I liked him and I'm glad he's not dead, but for what purpose is he coming back? Because are we getting another season of Boba Fett? Because
I'd be fine with another season. I think they could explore some more things.
Yeah, and maybe they could do a better job with the next season. I don't know. Like,
yeah, I think they could, maybe if they don't include the Mandalorian in the next season, I think it would give it some room to breathe. Yeah. It's different. It was different than I was expecting, honestly. I was expecting more of bounty hunters from the original trilogy coming in, especially from Empire Strikes Back, and that didn't really happen, really. So
no, not really at all. In fact, they kind of ignored the whole fact that Boba was a bounty hunter.
They mostly did, yeah. Well, I guess I don't really know if we have much else to say on that. I did kind of pop in my mind here while we were talking. Did you see that the Netflix Marvel shows are leaving their service on March 1st?
I saw that. That seems like a very small timetable.
Yeah, I bet. My guess is they're going to go to Disney Plus. But
see, I've heard the only thing I've heard differently is that they're going to hit Hulu first, and then they're going to hit Disney Plus.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that they're going to hit Hulu, and that's kind of what I was thinking at first as well. But then I kind of feel like they just might put them on Disney Plus and age lock them. But
yeah, so that's what I'm curious about, because the one example I heard was that it would be, I think it would behoove Disney at this point to have like an adult only like version, or or like have a separation of a kid version of the app and an adult version of the app, because shows like Punisher from Netflix are super not appropriate for children to watch for reasons of violence. So,
and they've done that around the world too. I mean, it's only in the US where we don't have the Star aspect of it, of the app, which basically Star is, it's basically the Hulu equivalent, except not quite, but
sure. But yeah, I am curious to see those shows on Disney Plus. It'll be cool for them to have them on Disney Plus. and that also will, give kind of a cool sense of legitimacy to some of those Netflix shows, because having seen the newest Spider-Man movie, we know that Charlie Cox, right, is in the MCU in some facet. We don't know exactly how. Multiverse is a thing, so there could be some differences and nuances as to like what's going on. But Matt Murdock, the lawyer, a blind lawyer, operates in the same universe that Tom Holland Spider-Man operates out of. So there's definitely potential for a Daredevil crossover, which is super cool.
What an insane movie that was. I was like,
that movie was bananas. Like, I mean, in all of the most awesome and best ways, but it was so good.
All right. Apologize. Do we want to talk about Peacemaker a little bit?
Yes, the better of these two shows, in my opinion. Not that like it's 1,000 times better, but I think Boba Fett started, in terms of like a line graph, Boba Fett started here and then just slowly kind of declined. And then like episode 5 and 6 happened and went up, and then the finale happened and went down. Whereas like Peacemaker kind of started low for me expectation wise, but has just like been on this exponential curve of like, man, I am liking this a lot. Like the character development is really cool. Like Peacemaker is not a likable character, like at all. But they find ways of making you like him. And but yeah, I mean, we can talk more specifically about this episode, or we can talk more about just the show as a whole. But well, what are your thoughts on this most recent episode?
I guess I'll just talk mostly about the show as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to think what I even want to say. I think the vibe of it overall is really fun. I love like the 80s rock part of it. I think the comedy is really fun. It's a really funny show. I just like its vibe. I mean, that's almost all I have to really say about it. I think it's a cool vibe. It's fun. It's a fun show. And when I watch it, I laugh, and afterwards I'm like, that was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I kind of agree. Like we were talking about this a little bit before the episode started, but like Peacemaker as a show, there's not a whole lot of like speculation to be had. Like you're not really going to be sitting here pondering about what's going to happen next. They kind of choreograph all of that pretty well. Like there will be moments where you don't know what's going to happen moment to moment, but like kind of the narrative beats, you kind of know what's going to happen. Like with this last episode, I guess pausing for spoilers for people who haven't seen it, then you're here. Why? But like Mern's butterfly, the host body dies, gets shot, and then the butterfly itself gets crumpled by the mob of police of butterfly infected police officers, which is super sad. And now the bromance between Peacemaker and Adebayo is all split open now because of her planting that diary. Oh man, like the show just makes you feel things, man.
I like Vigilante.
Mm-hmm. Now, from what I understood, that was a different actor in the first several episodes, and I think that's why he never took his mask off.
Well, I heard that they always, whenever they had him on there, they refilmed everything, so he was the one in the outfit.
Oh, okay, so he was the one. Okay, I'll need to make sure I correct myself to my wife then.
Yeah, I mean, it is a running joke that he doesn't want to show his face, though. So
right,
yeah.
But yeah, no, Vigilante is fun. The fact that like Peacemaker finally And I definitely will say finally kills his dad at the end of this last episode was so brutal, and finding out what happened to his brother was really, really intense. Like, yeah, just
I don't know, that scene with him hugging eagerly was quite emotional. So
quite miraculous, one would say.
it's just so absurd.
I just love Adebayo just being like, I just saw an eagle hug a person. Maybe it's a sign. So funny. Yeah, no, the show does a really good job of being like very dramatic and suspenseful, but also just being like very, very funny. A lot of those ad-libbed, what would you call them? Outtakes, like at the end of the episodes after the credits roll. Some of that shit is so funny. Like,
I usually turn it off before then. I should keep watching, huh?
have you not seen that? They have like, they're not outtakes exactly, but they're like extra scenes that didn't make it into the episode. And like this last one, it's I won't tell you like what happened or like what it is.
Oh, it's okay. Just tell me. I probably won't go back.
Well, it's like it's the really gaunt looking like new sheriff or like head of police at the district there with the butterfly in him now. Obviously, it's during that press conference where he's talking about the diary. He's like, it's different takes of him like saying and talking about like being human, like cleaning out crime from their area, and he's just like ad-libbing these lines. It's fucking hysterical. But what made me really laugh is that one of the like background actors, like one of the like other sheriffs or officers, one of them to like the right of him is just losing his shit laughing. Like he can't like he's smiling, so he has this huge smile on his face like this very serious press conference just because of what the guy's saying. It's like he's breaking so hard. And then the detective Gone Butterfly, she like yanks on his arm, is like, okay, that's all we're gonna do for today. And then you can like kind of see her laugh and smile at the end too. Like they're very charming little scenes. I highly recommend watching them.
I think the one I saw last week was with Peacemaker trying to come up with all these different names for
yes.
that they could have come up with besides his dad. So.
Yeah, no, they're exactly like that. They're very charming. I will say now too, I kind of thought that James Gunn was trolling us a little bit when this show initially aired, saying like he didn't want you to ever skip the intro to the show. And from what I heard or understood, like I thought there was going to be like some differences in the intro every week or something, but it was exactly the same every week. And I only found out later that like the tone of the show takes such a dramatic turn at some point that like they're dancing and like the seemingly happy nature of the song is so juxtaposed to like what's happening in the show, and just the dancing is so juxtaposed. Like it's just so hauntingly nice to watch. I know that I have a hard time looking away from their dance moves. It's so weird.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's one of those ones that it's a good opening for the show for sure. It's definitely there. It sets the right tone, I think, for what you're about to watch too. So, but yeah,
I don't know. Like, I agree though. Like, I just don't think there is like a ton to discuss with Peacemaker. Like it's a good show. Like we could go through the episode beat by beat, but like ultimately what it is it's just the story unfolding in a way you kind of would imagine it would.
Yeah, I knew that creature was going to be disturbing. The one
they milk
for.
Oh god, yeah.
I knew it was going to be gross.
Milking apparatus was terrible. Like it just
its face. Oh man, that was pretty gross.
I like how it's just like this big goopy like bug-eyed monster with like one singular tooth. Like
I knew it was going to be gross, but I mean I wanted it to be as well, so I can't really.
Oh yeah.
Say, my expectations were met, and I was pleased. I'll say that.
Yeah, I don't know. I have this. I don't know, like my spin foil hat. What I really want to happen if I were to offer one fan theory about what I would like to have happen, I don't think this is going to happen in like a million years, but I would love for like Peacemaker and company to ultimately fail in destroying the cow, and like all of the butterflies are like there and protecting the source of their food, but the watchtower is in orbit above the barn, which is the Justice League's headquarters for most of the comics and books and shows I've seen. The orbiting satellite is above the barn. The Justice League knows what's happening with the butterflies and just uses its super laser to just blow the shit out of the cow. And then Peacemaker just like, what the fuck? And then the show ends. Like,
yeah, I mean, it is in the DC universe, but you don't really. They mentioned Batman a few times. I think that something like tabloid rumors for some of the other heroes, but
right. I just think it would be a really cool way for them to like kind of officially link some of the films to the show. In a really in a really sudden and unexpected way. But I don't really think it'll happen, but I would just love for something really crazy like that to happen. But I don't know. Do you have any theories or anything? Or
for the final episode, no. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just excited to watch it, and we'll see what happens. I mean, I assume that they win in some way. I don't know who's going to live and die. Mm-hmm. So that's exciting, I guess. I'm hoping that Vigilante makes it, but hopefully Eagly comes out alive.
If they kill Eagly, I riot. He has been one of the best parts of the whole freaking show.
Eagly's hardcore.
Eagly's hardcore. Well, I guess on that point, since I would say we have time if you.
Oh yeah, we went through this fast. I kind of thought we might.
So in that case, the video game portion of today's episode, which we've kind of been integrating some more video game stuff, which I'm into. I play a tremendous number of video games. I know that for myself recently, I've just started today playing Outer Wilds, which is a game that came out a while ago, but I'm busy. I got shit to do. So but I happen to have time to be able to start that today. And what a wondrous little game that is. It definitely takes you by surprise, the mechanic of the game. You're basically
playing it on.
Playing on my PC. Unless you basically have to put a gun to my head right now. Unless it's a Nintendo Switch, I'm not playing anything on a fucking console. I am fully converted.
I wasn't sure if it was on the Switch or not.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good question. I think it is. Wilds Switch. Yeah. Wilds developers platforms. Yeah, it's on the Switch.
Nice.
Yeah, highly recommend it. You're an astronaut with an alien race, except all of their space technology is built with like scraps of wood. This game came out in 2019. But it's your maiden voyage. You as a singular astronaut it's your first day to leave your planet. And there are several nearby planets for you to discover and explore to your heart's content. But I don't know exactly how long the time limit is. But as you leave the planet and begin exploring, you will suddenly hear a large and distant explosion, and then you are engulfed in light. And then it's like Groundhog Day. You're back on day one. So you basically repeat the same time frame from the moment you take off to when the explosion happens, and you don't know how or why that happens.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so you're just trying to piece together clues as to what's happening and to ultimately, I would assume, put an end to the cycle. But
So you're like trying to survive? Is it a survival game?
no, you have no chance of surviving. You die every time, but you need to. There might be no way of stopping it. I don't know. Ultimately, I don't know what the end goal is. Like, I'm just running around the different planets looking for clues.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, but super fun. Yeah, I'd highly recommend it if you haven't tried it. But the thing we were going to talk about is Nintendo had another direct recently. And I think a lot of people could probably look at this direct and shrug their shoulders and go, well, that happened. Because I know for me personally, it was a bit of a wet fart in terms of news. It was like, if you're a JRPG fan, you're eating good this year. This is going to be a great year for you. Fire Emblem Warriors, Earthbound, like getting in a like actual official Nintendo release in America, which is pretty cool. That and along with Live Alive. That was a Japanese only release that's getting released in America now.
Yeah, the big thing I saw was Mario Kart getting a bunch of DLC courses. Mario
yeah,
Kart.
that was my highlight, along with Nintendo Switch Sports. I think that's actually going to be kind of cool too.
I'm actually surprised they did that for Mario Kart 8. I thought they were done with that game, and I'll say I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately what it comes down to is what was a Mario Kart 9 gonna be other than just Mario Kart 8 with more tracks, right? Like, so.
Well, I mean, that's the problem I think they're gonna run into with Super Smash Brothers now too. So.
Yeah, I mean, they are never gonna top Ultimate. Like, the amount of work that went into making that game what it is now, like, I just don't think any new Smash Bros. Game is ever gonna like match up against it. But I could be wrong. I mean,
yeah,
they start adding anime characters. There you go. They start delving into the film franchises.
I guess they announced Portal 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Xeno Chronicles 3. Is Kirby in the Forgotten Land out?
No, that will be releasing soon though.
Because that actually looks kind of fun to me, and I might pick that up.
Yeah, if you're a Kirby fan, yeah, it comes out March 25th this year.
Yeah, it seems like Kirby just exploring like a post-apocalyptic city, which is such a weird idea, and I kind of love it.
Yeah, people have been calling it, like Kirby Breath of the Wild. Is kind of like a fan title I've heard. I don't think I'll be picking it up, only because I don't know how I feel about it. Maybe I'll change my mind.
What don't you like about it?
What don't I like about it?
Yeah.
It's not Kirby and the Crystal Shards.
Okay.
That was like my biggest Kirby game experience, and it's one that I really, really enjoyed.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. We played that one together, and I think the best part about it was just to be able to mix the power-ups like that. It was really cool.
And that's kind of the big mechanic that they introduced in that direct too, was that like Kirby not only can absorb powers, but can also like take on the form of like a car or a glider to fly through the air. And
that's what I'm actually watching this as we speak. It's the car thing's a little absurd. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's like a cute take on the mechanics, I guess, because I don't know. I think Kirby already has such a cool power in being able to absorb the abilities of other baddies. Didn't really think that needed to be expanded upon any further, but
yeah, but I mean, this I think might actually get people who don't traditionally buy Kirby games to actually buy a Kirby game, which
maybe it will. I don't know. I do want it to be successful.
Kirby just sucked up a vending machine.
You can fill himself up. They're really going for or leaning into his elasticity, something that he can stretch.
What actually kind of reminds me of is Banjo-Kazooie. Do you remember that game? Sometimes you go into Mumbo Jumbo's little skull head thing,
Oh yeah, and you could
and
like he
he
would
would
transform you.
randomly transform you into a washing machine
Yeah, I remember the washing machine.
as like a mistake. And I don't know, it just kind of reminds me of that. What a funny little Easter egg in that game.
So funny. God, those games were so good.
Yeah.
But let's see.
I think in
maybe we
Banjo
can-
Tooie, they actually you could turn into a washing machine in like the weird poison industry level or whatever it was.
Yeah, but it was like on purpose this time. It was
Yeah,
actually like part of the level.
exactly.
Yeah, there's Nintendo Switch Sports, which I mentioned. I think that one will be fun, but
Is that supposed to be kind of like Wii Sports then?
yeah, it's basically just Wii Sports, but with Joy Cons. I know that there's some like peripherals in terms of like a leg strap to be able to like kick a soccer ball,
Oh, okay. That's
like
weird.
that are going to be available if you buy. Or I
Oh,
suppose
I
if you
see. I'm
wanna
looking
play.
at this right now. Yeah, weird.
So,
I
but
feel
I
like
think it'll be fun. Honestly, I want it for bowling. I just want to do bowling. That's
They
like that was my favorite mini game back in the original. So,
I stand by Super Monkey Ball having the best sports mini games of any.
dude, Super Monkey Ball Golf was so fun. We played
Yeah,
the hell out of that.
yeah. I mean, that was an interesting game. Just that whole concept of Super Monkey Ball is very interesting. How you had like
Yeah,
you move the course rather than the monkey
yeah.
in a ball.
it's so fucking bizarre, but it is. I mean, I did like it mechanically. It was challenging, but I thought it was fun.
I always, for some reason, I think of like the pool game. And
Oh my god, yes, man, we played that a lot too. We played all those mini games a lot,
yeah,
didn't we?
they had a bowling version. They had a bowling one too, I think.
Yeah, bowling and the pool.
Yeah,
Man,
because
that's crazy.
we would go through it and just play all the games right in a row.
Yeah, we just like
Scissors
just
and
go one
bows.
after the other.
And I guess Mario Strikers Battle League is coming out. I don't really care at all, it turns out.
Yeah,
I think
like
what
there's a lot of interesting titles coming out. Like I think Mario Strikers is cool, and it kind of makes sense for like the reprisal of the soccer game happening after Mario Golf came out. But I played Mario Golf passively like back in the day a little bit, but I never did play Mario Strikers because I don't know, I've never been like that into sports games in general.
yeah.
Yeah, there's Chrono Cross. Like, yeah, like you mentioned, the Portal collection. The Portal collection, like, I think is cool, and I think Portal is a good fit for the Switch. For two
That
reasons.
game is
One,
like 15 years old at this point.
it's so old. Well, and that's why it works perfect on the Switch, is because it's it's old as shit and not very graphically intensive any longer. But I do think Portal does like fit the mold pretty well in terms of like what a good mobile Switch game can do. You know,
Yeah.
you can play a couple puzzles and then pause it and then put it away. But yeah, Splatoon 3, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Disney Speedstorm, which is a game I could not give a shit less about.
Disney Speedstorm is coming to the Switch. Man, I cannot wait.
I mean, like, I can't. The balls of Nintendo. Nintendo's so fucking confident that Mario Kart is so much better than any of these other shitty kart racing games that they're like, yeah, you want to put it on our platform? Sure, fuck it. Like anyone will play it. Like,
Well, I mean, that Mario Kart 8 has, I think, sold more games than it's sold so much on the Switch. It's
honestly,
insane.
like if you were just to use Mario Kart 8, not even like or yeah, just like Mario Kart 8, there are probably more versions of that game sold than like Switches at this juncture. Like,
Could be. I mean, with the Wii U, so
but No Man's Sky, that's coming to the Switch. I don't see how that's going to run very well, but it'll probably be like a graphical detune to make it run properly.
Star Wars: The Force Unleashed is coming. Advance Wars 1+2 reboot camp.
Man, that game, Force Unleashed was a game that I really liked back in the day. But again, that's a kind of an old game at this point, and it did not look very good during the direct. Like
Oh, really?
I thought it looked like it was running on a potato, personally.
I guess it's just it was the Wii version of it. Yeah.
Oh, is it really? That's even worse. Shit. No wonder it didn't look that familiar. I was like, I don't remember any of this from this game.
Yeah.
That makes way more sense. That's the Wii version. So it's the shittier version. Okay.
Klonoa Fantasy Reverie is coming.
Yeah, I think you might see what I'm talking about here, and that like there's just so much coming that I just really don't care about. And everyone had the same ask for this direct, right? Give us Zelda news. We want Zelda news. Either give me something for Breath of the Wild 2, a teaser, a trailer, a release date, something, or give me something Zelda shaped to gnaw on while I wait for Breath of the Wild 2. Like people want Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker HD poured into the Switch. Why aren't those here yet?
Yeah, I'm looking at like the man, it's crazy how many tracks new tracks they're releasing though on the for Mario Kart 8. So many.
It is cool. Yeah,
I wish
actually,
they would do more characters though too. Oh well.
which they might. I mean, they did. They said it would be 48 new tracks. They didn't say they wouldn't add anything else either.
Yeah, 48 new tracks and 48 tracks that are
But
already or from older games.
I mean, but who the hell would they even add character-wise at this point? The roster for Mario Kart 8 is already pretty expansive. Yeah, like
Well, they could add in non-Mario characters, I guess.
they already have like Zelda, or no, they don't have Zelda. They have Link. They could add Zelda, I guess. Did Zelda get added at some point? I thought it was only Link.
I'm pretty sure it's just Link.
So I guess Zelda could be a racer. Ganondorf. Actually, more Zelda characters would be kind of fun.
I really want them to add in more Double Dash courses.
Dude, Double Dash had some great courses. That's definitely rose-colored lenses, but that was a game we played a lot. I thought it was a really solid Mario Kart experience.
People are disappointed we're not going to get a Mario Kart 9, but I mean, like you said,
we're gonna get one eventually, please. Like, it's like, well, and what are they gonna do different? You know,
like, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, well, what they would improve the graphics. That's almost always what they do.
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing. I think if they, well, shit, I don't know, bring back the double dash mechanic, make it so you have two people per cart, and have the swap mechanic be a thing, and like add a new zing to that. Depending on who's driving, will change the weight of the cart.
I feel like they could also maybe add in some new multiplayer courses, but
like there's a lot they could do, but like I don't know, Nintendo has been so weird with some of its decisions. Like I'm still thrown by the Mario Party situation. You had a perfectly good Mario Party game on the Switch.
Didn't they release some new content for that or something?
No, it's not new content. It's a whole new game.
Oh.
It's Mario Party All-Stars, which is like a conglomeration of a bunch of different maps from like older and newer Mario Party games. And with a bunch of the same, not the same, but like a mishmash of all the different party games. And it looks good, but like, why the shit did they just abandon that Mario Party game? I'm still burned on that. Like, I bought that being kind of excited that like, oh, this is like a newer Mario Party experience. Like, this is something on the Switch, which is an actual successful console rather than the Wii U. So I was thinking, man, we'll get some updates on maps and get new mini games added. This should be really fun. They abandoned that game, basically. They were like, oh yeah, by the way, here's some online play options.
Yeah.
I mean, by the way, new game. Like,
wasn't it pretty well received initially too?
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, as far as I was aware, the one major complaint with it was that people just got bored with it because they did nothing to it. They didn't add any new courses. or mini games. And like they only added online play to it later on in the game's life, like a year after it came out.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused too. I honestly think they should just continually update Animal Crossing too. I've always felt that way. Like, why stop? There's no reason to stop. People are so engaged with that game still. People would pay money to.
For sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
like just keep. Well, and I also really am not a huge fan of this this thing they're doing with like here you can pay $25 for the 48 new courses and then have them just own them for forever, or more or less. Or you can pay the monthly subscription to have access to those 48 courses as long as you pay the subscription through Nintendo for like the plus package for their online service. Like, what a shitty deal that is. Like,
Yeah,
it's like you can pay the $25 up front, which is like, how much is the monthly cost of that subscription at this point? Like,
yeah. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be the way I would do it. So
it's so dumb. Like, unless they bolster that online service to some degree, there's no reason to pay that money. Like, you have to be a huge Nintendo fan and want the N64 games. That's what I was just. Yeah, I mean, I was talking with my wife again about this. We're talking about Majora's Mask coming to that service. It's like that's actually kind of a reason why I would want to play or pay for that service, would just have access to Majora's Mask, because that'd be the first time you've been able to play it on like a modern console in quite some time, like, and like a non-handheld, because you have the 3DS version, which is good in its own right, but playing the original though, it's so good.
yeah, I would love to play Banjo-Kazooie as well.
Yeah, nowadays if you want to play Banjo-Kazooie, you gotta have an Xbox.
Well, I thought they were bringing it to to their thing where you could actually get it on the Switch or something like that.
Yeah, and that might very well be the case. It wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, I saw an article that on when I was looking at the Reddit, oh shoot, when I was looking at like the Reddit Nintendo subreddit, that said Microsoft wants to bring Call of Duty to the Switch now that they're gonna hopefully take over Activision Blizzard. So
I mean, more power to them, but like, on what fucking servers is that ever going to function? Like, Nintendo's online service in terms of like their online capabilities is complete trash. It's trapped in like the mid 2000s in terms of like not only the speed and stability, but the features. Like, Nintendo needs, if they want to be big boys and like join the big players in terms of like online functionality, they need to get their shit in gear, because right now they're a joke in terms, like, I don't even play Smash Bros online anymore for that reason. It's so trash. Why do I want to play Little Timmy in like 35 ping lag? Like,
what if they brought GameCube titles to their service, and they had Melee and they added Melee? Would you do that?
That would maybe be a consideration, but even that, I don't know.
They'll never do it, but they're cowards.
Because, like, let's see where we're at right now.
They could bring. What if they brought Kirby Crystal Castles or whatever?
Okay, Nintendo Switch Online. I want to refresh my brain in terms of like what memberships are available. So, an individual online Switch membership is $20 a year. The online Switch Online plus the expansion pack is what they're calling it, is $50 a year.
$50 a year?
$50 a year for what they got. And
50 divided, Alexa, what's 50 divided by 12?
50 divided by 12 is approximately 4.1667.
That's like $4 a month.
Which isn't terrible. But it's the only reason I'm still paying the $20 a year. for the online service is because it's so dirt cheap as to like be
Yeah.
non-existent. Like $20 is nothing.
Yeah, really it is. I
But-
stopped doing it though because I kind of stopped using it.
But $50 for like what they're offering right now just doesn't seem worth it to me. Like, especially like I said, like the cost that you'd be paying for, like, just say you're a Mario Kart fanatic. Let's say you play Mario Kart a lot.
Maybe I did. Maybe I am.
So that means that at that rough cost, you're what the math there was like roughly like 450, something like that, 440.
Maybe I'm a fanatic.
But like you would essentially pay off that pack in half a year of play. And then after that, you'd be paying more for that expansion than what it was originally worth.
Yeah, I think that's crazy.
Like it's complete dog shit. And it's the same thing with the Animal Crossing stuff. Like Animal Crossing has that same stipulation with their like new expansion or whatever. Like you can just pay the money up front or you can pay for the subscription. So either there needs to be like 1 million DLCs added in to this online service to like make it worth the price. Or they need to actually like have an online service.
Did you ever play that Nickelodeon's Super Smash Brothers knockoff? Was that actually any good?
From my understanding of things, yes, that it was good. No, I did not play it because I don't spend money on things I'm generally not going to use or do anything with. Though I will say I was initially excited about the notion of a game like that coming out because it was like the most effort someone had put into a Smash Bros. Clone ever. Like it actually had interesting mechanics. Like I watched professional, let me not say professional Smash Bros. Players. I watched content creators through like YouTube and such who play Smash on the regular for their work, for their content, who like went out of their way to play this game, and they all seem to have the same opinion of that. Like there's the bones of a really good game there. I think it was just continued engagement with people that was the problem. I couldn't tell you right now how the game's doing. I hope it's doing well.
I mean, I heard that they were going to continue to add characters to it.
Yeah, because Nintendo needs some competition in some of these areas.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's not like Smash Bros. Has ever been stale. I mean, like,
Yeah,
Christ,
they're always adding.
Ultimate has just been like, is just the roided, injected monster of a game that's like just head and shoulders above better than literally every other platforming fighter in the industry. And like they don't need competition, they are their own competition. They are actively like adding new and interesting mechanics to those games, and like their worst issue with Smash Bros. Honestly is probably the fan base just like wanting certain characters added.
Yeah, I mean they added so many characters. It's
so many.
How many do they have? Like 80 now? Some crazy amount.
The total number, total Smash Ultimate characters. Just tell me how many characters are in the game.
In the original, we had 12, and we were happy to have them.
I think it's 86. Is that right? Let me see if when they stopped counting here. Sora was the last one that got added. Yeah, it's 86 characters. God damn, that's bananas.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, that being said, honestly, this whole segment was for me to be able to bitch about the fact they didn't talk about Zelda once in this entire podcast or in this entire freaking direct. I was so upset. And they will continue to have my business, but fuck them for blue balling me so hard.
Is
I
that
will
supposed to
say,
come out this year? That next Zelda game?
yeah, I think I've tentatively heard that's going to be like some, holiday season
That would make
2022.
sense. Yeah.
So, but in the meantime, man, what I would give for any of those other Zelda titles to get ported.
Twilight Princess, Wind Waker.
Oh, either of those would be fantastic.
Did you play Skyward Sword when it got ported over?
That's actually the only Zelda game that's like a console Zelda game I haven't played all the way through. I should actually correct myself again there. I haven't really played a lot of the older Zelda titles. In Ocarina of Time onwards on consoles, that's the only one I haven't played.
Gotcha.
And I want to, but I was told continuously. There's a friend I used to work with who I brought it up a lot when it was initially coming out, about to come out, and after it had released too. Like, man, I really need to pick that up. Like, I've never played through Skyward Sword. He's like, if you're a fan of the franchise, honestly, you don't have to. He told me that every single time I brought it up. Like, I kept trying to see if I could get him to crack, but nah, man, he was just like, if you like Zelda, this is the one game you can skip.
Huh. I mean, I've heard it was pretty good. I was always more reticent to play it because of the whole Wii mote aspect of it, but
in which you can play with a controller, which is cool. But it does have to be, I think it does have to be docked if you want to play with like a proper controller. Otherwise, you have to use the Joy-Cons for like the mobile version of it.
yeah, I don't like the idea of doing like I don't know. It upsets me.
You mean to tell me that on your subway trip home, you don't want to set up your Nintendo Switch on the seat across from you next to the hobo currently jerking off with Joy-Cons in hand and get to defend Hyrule as the proper warrior that you are?
It's pretty good, Matt.
Yeah, I just it's I don't know. Inclusivity, I think, is an important thing to maintain in a lot of video games. And I think you need to give people the option to play the goofy Joy-Con way if you want. Like, throw those controllers to a kid, no problem. Like, you want to tire out little Timmy with a video game that's going to like keep him off his ass, that's the game for him, right? But like, we're older now, 30 plus. Like, give us a controller so we can sit our asses down. We're tired. We worked 40 hours this week.
Yeah, I mean, I sit all day. I'm not gonna stand up for anything. Screw that. Just kidding.
It's pretty ridiculous now. Like my routine, like my just day to day. Like, so this is where I am when I'm working, and then this is where I am when I'm playing games. Like, so for 8 hours a day, I'm here in this chair working, and then for the other 8 hours of my day that I'm hopefully conscious, I'm also in this chair.
Wow, man, 16 hours a day.
I play hard, baby.
Really stand up when you collapse.
I piss into a bottle. I have
Have a bedpan.
I have remotes to open all the doors to let my dogs out.
Get the bedpan.
Automatic dispensers for their food. Yeah, fuck that moving shit. But that being said, I think we've, unless you have any passing thoughts or closing thoughts on the.
No, I feel like I'm a little lethargic today, so I'm sorry
That's all right.
you had to carry it, Matt.
Hey, I just have that much charisma as to carry us both, my friend.
You do. I mean, every week you carry us, but this week it was even more pronounced.
This particular, I mean, the direct was interesting to talk about to some degree, but it was mostly a platform for me to bitch about no Zelda news. And then, like, Peacemaker is cool, but yeah, there's not like a lot of spitballing to do in terms of ideas and that what's going on in that show. We know what's going to happen. They're going to win ultimately, probably. But
Yeah,
And then Book of Boba Fett ended, and it was kind of a wet fart. You know, it
there's
is
a lot
what
of
it
wet
is.
farts going around recently.
It is tons of them. This room even. It's but
Yeah, I don't even know what we're gonna talk about next week. I guess the finale of Peacemaker. But
of the finale of Peacemaker, and then yeah, no, I mean, actually, yeah, we'll have to. I do, in wanting to incorporate more gaming stuff. I am interested in hopefully incorporating some gameplay into some of these at some point, or maybe
That'd be
do a
cool.
different series.
yeah,
Maybe do like every other week we talk about a show or movie, and then the next week we do like a let's play type podcast where we chat and we either play games together or one of us is playing a game that the other is interested in. I don't know. We can, if you have ideas about things you'd like to see from us idiots, let us know.
and
Leave them in the comments down below.
yeah, the comments.
And then but yeah, so I guess on that note, we'll call it good.
Yep, episode 38 in the can.
Yeah, want to thank you all for joining us today for this episode of the Nerds in the North podcast. It's been fantastic. It's great to see you. You look good. You looking svelte.
Thanks,
And and yeah, no, I hope everyone who watched today had a good time. And we look forward to speaking to you in the next episode of the Nerds in the North podcast. Bye.
Bye-bye.